is you should do the Venn diagram first. So remember you have to do two circles. So this one is for the people that have an iPhone, and then you need another circle for the people that have a Samsung phone, and just do the box, which represents the sample space. And remember, always start with the inside. You have 10, that is both of them. So remember, these are the people that have a iPhone and they have a Samsung phone. Since there is 40 people that have an iPhone and you already have 10 in here, that means there should be 30. And again, it's not required to label this, but it will make your life easier to know what this means. Remember, the 30 represents the people that have an iPhone, but they don't have a Samsung phone. And then in the same way, there is 60 people that have a Samsung. So therefore, this has to be 50. Also, total, remember, is 120. So this is 60, this is 90. So that means that outside you have 30 people. And remember what this means. These are the people that don't have an iPhone and don't have a Samsung phone. While the 50 here, these are the people that have a Samsung phone, but they don't have an iPhone. Okay? So once you have this, it's pretty easy to answer the questions. Right? Anybody has any questions so at this point?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, what is the 30 in the box? Why'd you put 30 in the box?
This one or this one?
Yes.
This one?
Yeah.
Because remember, you have 120 people total, right?
Right.
So this one is only 90. So that means 30 don't have iPhones or don't have Samsung. Because there is other phones besides Samsung and iPhone, right?
Wait, did I do something wrong? I thought it was like, I think it's 60.
No, it is 60. It is 60. You're right. But how much is 50 plus 10?
Oh,
60.
Oh, wow.
And
I see what you did.
yeah,
Okay.
and 30 plus 10 is 40. That's okay. That's fine. That's why we're doing this. Is that okay?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. So once you have this Venn diagram, it's pretty easy to solve the question. So the first part is asking, what's the probability that the person has an iPhone or it has a Samsung phone? So you can use the formula, the addition formula. You can actually also get the answer just by looking to the diagram. I'll show you that right now too. Okay? But from here, according to this, there is 40 people that have an iPhone, which is this one anyways. Okay? So this will be 40 over 120. And then there is 60 that have a Samsung phone. And then there is 10 that have both of them. So if you simplify this will give you 90 over 120. Now, the happy face answer is always going to be the sum of these three numbers. So if these three add to this value, that's how you can check this is correct. So therefore, this is correct. Okay. Now, this one is going to become very handy for the rest of the parts. So if you look to part C, I don't know what happened to part A, but let's say part C. The question is, what's the probability that the person owns an iPhone, but they don't have a Samsung phone? Well, this one should be obvious from the diagram. What is the answer to this one? Should be obvious. Okay, so look at, is this equals to this or this or this?
30,
So
right?
30. So there should be 30 over 120. And that's it. Now, if you were going to put this answer in Canvas, then you just have to divide using a calculator. But for the participation, this is good enough. Now, what about part D? It says owns a iPhone or Samsung, but not both. This one is a little more tricky. So this one says it has a iPhone. So these people have a iPhone. Remember, all these people have an iPhone. All of these people have a Samsung phone. So, but this one says you have either these people have only an iPhone and these only have a Samsung. So that's what it's asking you. How many have either this one or this one, but they don't have both? So the answer should be what?
80.
80. So this should be 80 over 120. Okay. So this is why the diagram is so helpful. Now, Part D says, what's the probability that the person neither has an iPhone or a Samsung phone? So then in this case, it will be this value right here. That's why you need to have this at the end. So therefore, this is what, 30 over 120. And that's it. Is that okay?
Wait. So now I'm still don't know the 30. What's the 30 right there for?
I'm really confused now.
The 30.
How about the 10?
So let's start with that. If we add this one, how many Christians we have total?
120.
120. What about Muslim? How many we have total?
75.
75?
Yeah.
And what about other?
120.
120 also? Okay. Now, what about Democrats? How many we have total?
100.
100. What about Republican?
90.
And what about Green Party?
125.
125. And when you add all three, it should be 315. Okay? All right. So part A is asking you, what's the probability that the person is Democrat? So this one should be obvious. What is it? How many Democrats you have?
100.
100. And how many you have total?
350.
315. That's it. Again, if you need to put this in Canvas, just divide using the calculator, and that's it. And just round it to whatever it's asking you. Otherwise, this is fine. Now, part B says or in here. So this is the key that you have to use the happy face, okay? So this is asking you, what's the probability that the person is Muslim or Democrat, okay? So then just use the addition formula, which is the following. And then just get information from the table. How many people are Muslim? Is 75, right? How many are Democrat? Well, we already said that was 100. And how many are Muslim? Muslim, remember, is this. And how many are Democrat? So what is the point where they both intersect? What is it? Okay, how much is this number right here? 25, right? So that means you have 25 people that are Muslim and Democrat. So if you add all of this, how much do you get? How much is that? It's 150 over 315. Is that correct? All right, so let's move on to part C. So part C is asking, what's the probability that the person is Muslim, but remember the sad face is can also mean bad, is not a Democrat. Okay, so now this one should be easy to get the answer just from the table. Remember, these are the people that are Muslim, but you cannot count anybody that is Democrat. So that means you cannot count this value. So therefore, how many people you have left? It should be the 15 plus the 35, which is how much? 50, right? Should be 50 over 315. And that's it. Right. Part D says, what's the probability that person selected is Republican or Democrat? So there is the happy face. So this should be Republican or Democrat. So this will be Republican plus Democrat minus Republican and Democrat. Now, how many people are Republican? According to the list, it's 90, right? How many are Democrat? 100. Now, how many are Republican and Democrat?
0.
0, right? Because they are mutually exclusive. You cannot be Republican and Democrat at the same time. I guess you can if you are the senator from, I don't know where, the Manchin or Minanchin or something. That guy, he says he's Democrat, but I think he's Republican. But okay, that's a different story. So the point is that the rows are always mutually exclusive to each other, because you cannot be Christian and Muslim at the same time. You cannot be Democrat, Republican, or from the Green Party at the same time. but you can be Republican and Christian, you can be Republican and Muslim, you can be Green Party and other and so forth. Okay? So in this case, the answer is just 190 over 315. And that's it. Now, the last thing has to do with independence. Remember that for something to be independent, all you have to check is the probability of the intersection, which is the sad face. So if this is equals to this, and for this we're gonna need a calculator probably. If this is true, then the events are independent. If this is not true, they are not independent. Now remember that the probability that somebody has an iPhone and a Samsung at the same time, it was 10 over 120. The iPhone, I believe it was 40 over 120, and Samsung was 60 over 120. Now the question is, are these two the same? Okay. Now you can use a calculator or you can reduce fractions. I know so many people don't like fractions. So just use a calculator. Remember, 120 is the same thing as 60 times 2. So this will cancel down. And then 40 goes into 220 times. So this is 20 over 120. Now, is 10 over 120 equals to 20 over 120? Yes or no? I mean, that's not a tricky question. Obviously it's not, right? So therefore, that means they are not independent. That's it. They have to be exactly the same to be independent. Now, we can do the same thing with a Christian and Republican. Now, follow using the table. So, how many people are Christian and Republican according to the table we have here? So, Christian and Republican, how many is it? It's 40, right? So, this will be 40 over 315. So this is 40 over 315. Well, how many people are Christian? This should be Republican iPhone. So how many are Christian? Christian was 120. So this is 120 over 315. And Republican, if I remember correctly, was 90. Now, in order for this to be independent, 40 over 315 has to be equals to 120 over 315 times 90 over 315. And when I checked this with the calculator, they were not the same. They are close to each other, but they were not the same. So since they are not equal, that means they are not independent. And that's it. Okay, remember, to be independent, you just have to be identical. All right, any questions on this, people?